Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first podcast on Wall Casino. Today, we're having Mrs. Wall.
Hello, Miss Wall.
Hello.
Um, so, how did you come up with the idea of wall games?
Of the probability games thing?
Yes.
Well, data management was a course that I started teaching last year for my first time. And so Mr. Moss, who's been teaching data management for a long time, he gave me his resources. And I kind of just took his project that he did with previous classes and adapted it and did it a little bit differently for our class.
Yeah. How did you integrate wall games into our schoolwork?
What do you mean by that?
How did you implement the things they learned in class into the work?
Okay, so at the end, you have to calculate the theoretical probability and the experimental probability, which is something that we focused on quite a bit in data management. And you have to reflect on how this is applied to your real life. So you kind of use the concepts and skills of calculations that you learned throughout data management to calculate the probability of somewhat of a real life experience, so that you can see different games and if they're fair games or not fair games. And then this is also a skill that you can use in the future in your own life as well.
What kind of challenges do you think the students face while making these games?
I think some of the challenges was that they were making the games too complicated. And so then they were realizing that it was really difficult to calculate the theoretical and experimental probability. So they had to kind of adapt their game so that they could calculate it using the equations that they've learned. And they also seem to have difficulty with coming up with something that would be fun and challenging, but also that they could calculate so that they could use the things that they learned in class. So, because a lot of times, like, and I think in your group as well, you guys came up with an idea that was really cool, but you realized it was really, really hard to calculate the probability of that event occurring because there were just so many possibilities. So then students would have to kind of go back and figure out how to simplify their game a bit more, but not take away the fun part. So yeah, that's probably the most difficult thing that students had to deal with.
A lot of students were on dorm during this time. So how did they get the materials to make these games?
That's a great question. Some of them took boxes from the cafeteria for the cardboard. Some of them borrowed materials from other teachers, such as Miss Bailey. We were able to use like dice and little character things for board games or whatever. I brought some things in from my house, or I went out and bought some things for some students if they needed it. Some students already had some of these things on dorm, like in their own dorms, and they made their game according to what they already had. So that was pretty interesting. And yeah, I guess that's how most of the dorm students got access to materials.
Do you remember any of your favorite games and wall games, and can you describe them?
I think one of my favorite games was Your Groups with Demisi, because he made it really fun because he was super like passionate about it and super like excited about it. And Tolu was great as well. He was more of like the serious person who was trying to get down to business. But I think that was a fun game because it was unpredictable and it all was up to luck. But I do know that you guys struggled with the calculations in the end and not sure how to actually calculate that because it all came down to subjective things that the probability depended on. It wasn't like you could calculate what someone was thinking of doing. So I think that it was fun. It was just difficult to find the proper calculations. Another one of my favorite ones was Anthony's and SK's. I don't know if you remember that one or not, but what they did was you had a card and then you rolled a dice and you tried to match them. And then there were certain sequences that you tried to do. And that one was really cool, but I know it took them a long time to calculate as well because there were so many outcomes that could occur. And another fun one I would say is Athena's because hers was really like designed very well. And it was simple enough that you thought that you could win. So then you would do it. And then you realized afterwards that the probability was very high before you could win. So it was just interesting how she made her game still looking like it was kind of deceiving that you would think before you played it.
What do you think was the most important part to making the games fun?
I think there had to be a little bit of challenge involved. And also enough that you would still win something, because some of the games were simple, but when you played them, the chances of you winning was very, very small. And so it wasn't very fun for someone to play when they just knew that they probably wouldn't win. So I think it comes down to a challenging factor, but also I should win at least some of the times that I play so that it gets you coming back to the game.
Okay. For the probability games, you made something called the Daily Dollar.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Sure. So this is money that, or I should put money in quotes because it's not real, that I made. And I actually also took this from Mr. Moss. He made Moss Bucks. And so I adapted it as I was teaching it to daily dollars. And what it is it's basically money for you to use in the wall probability games. So it's money that you can use to play each game and that you get back. And then we used it to calculate how much the group or the partners made on their game itself, and then also how much they as an individual made by playing the games. And I realized after that I should have printed quite a bit more of the money because a lot of people ran out or wanted more money to play. And so having more money available or actually printed out would have been good. So I'll make a note of that next time to just print extras out. And also to have extra just in case students go over or need extra as well.
Yeah. Other than printing out more money, what are you going to do to make the next probability game, if there'll be a next probability game, more interesting?
That's a great question. I'm not sure what I would do. Maybe instead of having the students calculate all of the outcomes of the game, they could just calculate the successful outcomes so that they can focus on the fun part of the game rather than the calculations, because that stopped a lot of people from being able to have a fun game because they were so worried that they wouldn't be able to calculate the probability. So maybe if they didn't have to calculate all of the outcomes, but still calculate some of them, then maybe that would allow them to feel that they could be a little bit more fun with it. Maybe we could do the games fair over a couple days rather than just one day. And I could hand out the project earlier in the course so then they have more time to think about it so that they can get some more ideas about what to do. Yeah, I would say maybe those two would be the most realistic things to change about the game.
Yeah. Do you have any intentions of making sure the game is like a school event that other classes can come and play these games?
Yes, and I was thinking about doing that last year when I taught data management to get maybe some of the middle school kids to come and play, which would be really fun. However, because of COVID this year, we couldn't have any other classes in our class. But in the future, I think that would definitely be something that would be really interesting and fun for the students in the class and also the students in the school.
Did you have a theme set up for your classroom during the World Games?
A theme?
Like a casino, like decoration or anything?
Oh, no, I didn't. But that would be cool to input one in data management in the future, is have like a casino night or a casino day or something and put decorations up and make it a little bit more fun. That's a great way. That's a great suggestion to make it more fun.
Okay. I think that's all my questions. Thank you very much, Ms. Wall, being so cooperative.
No problem, Asosa. No problem. I'm happy to help. Anything you need.
Thank you for listening to the podcast up to this point. Hope to see you again in future podcasts. Bye-bye.